Welcome back to another episode of College Baseball Live. We join you guys every live Saturday morning, 8 a.m. West Coast time and 11 o'clock East Coast time. Man, just some great ball games, and we're into week 2 already. Again, I'm Mark Glenn, your host here. I got joined with our other co-host here, Will Massa. How we doing, Will?
Oh, fantastic Saturday morning. We're just getting it rolling. Good weekend.
Getting after it. Got some games to talk about. And I got Tyler Jennings here also from our On the Clock side, our draft side. How we doing, Tyler?
I'm alive. I'm getting some more UNC ECU baseball today, so can't complain.
Not a lot more to ask for than that. I mean, you get some great series, and we'll talk about that one as we get into it. We've also got the wonderful Jamie Plunkett here from the HornedFrogBlitz, 247 Sports, and Base 12 Sports. Man, how we doing, Jamie?
Having a blast, guys. College baseball season is the best time of year. Opening day was like Christmas, and as someone who covers all the sports across the TCU atmosphere, this is definitely my favorite time of year.
Yeah, man. I mean, this is the best time of year for me. I love this time. I think it's funny that we open every year on Valentine's Day weekend, and usually I never spend it with my wife. She's usually gone on some business trip. This year she was home, and she's like, "What do you want to do?" I'm like, "I'm going to watch baseball." So, this is baseball time. This is the time. And she agreed. She sat there and watched the games with me. So, fantastic that we're into this time again where we get to watch college baseball. We're into week 2. Again, folks, join us on Saturday mornings live here. Please go into the comments, like and subscribe all of our stuff here. We got shows going live on Saturdays. We got the top 25 shows on Mondays. And we're going to do a new show on Thursdays. We were doing Spaces. I think we're going to switch to a show for you guys on Thursdays. Send us your questions. DM in. We want to have interviews and stuff from you guys. We want to talk to you guys, the fans, and know your perspectives on this stuff. So we're just excited to get going. Let's get going into what was, projected to be the best series of the weekend. TCU and UCLA, opening night there. UCLA wins this one 10-2. Grand slam by Cholowsky. Mason Brassfield doesn't really get the start that you were hoping for, as we had the news that Tommy Lepore was not going to be pitching in this weekend. Brassfield goes just 1 2/3 with 5 earned. Jamie, I'm going to go to you first as you're the resident TCU guy here. What are we feeling like after this first one? I mean, Brock hits a grand slam for UCLA, and Molivai hits 4 hits for them. And they kind of look like the number 1 team in the nation again against a very good TCU team. TCU kind of came out just flat.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing to remember is that there's a reason UCLA is ranked number 1, right? Yeah. And just the depth that they have, both pitching and in the lineup, is going to be something that's really challenging for a lot of teams to overcome, even if they're extremely talented. And then you take away TCU's Friday starter, you take away Noah Franco, who's dealing with an oblique injury, you take away Louis Rodriguez, who was already lost to the season with a UCL injury, and now you're talking about a team that has a ton of tremendous talent in guys like Sawyer Strohsnyder and Chase Brunson, but maybe doesn't have quite the depth that they were anticipating that they would have heading into this weekend. So really, it's just a, hey, UCLA might be that good kind of situation. Watching Mason last night, he added a sinker to his mix this offseason. It was really good against Arkansas. It kind of floated last night. I think that was the pitch he hung to Cholowsky for that grand slam. And when you're working on a new pitch, there are going to be some inconsistencies when you get into live situations. And so I just think that was a situation where Brassfield didn't have his best stuff. Still think he's going to be a great Saturday guy if Lepore is able to come back and reclaim that Friday role. And I think TCU will be fine moving forward. But the reality is they're just not playing good baseball right now. They're not hitting. They're chasing pitches out of the zone. The pitching hasn't given them any length out of the starting role. And defensively, I mean, they're kind of bad right now, frankly. I think they have 9 errors in their last 3 games. And that's just not what we're used to seeing from the Frogs. So it's a situation where there's an immense amount of talent on the roster. I think they're going to piece it all together. Got to get a little healthy, got to kind of pull their heads out and just realize, hey, we're capable of playing with anybody in the country, and now they got to go show that they can.
Absolutely. And I think that we all have this team rated very highly. They have a lot of talent. That's not the problem right now. And it's okay. Don't panic, Frog fans. It's not the end of the world yet. Like, this is early in the season. There's a long baseball season for a reason, guys. 13 weeks is a long time to get healthy and get right and get this thing figured out. You beat some really good teams already. You haven't looked good the last 3. It doesn't mean that that's going to be the trend for the whole season. Get healthy. There's a long season. These guys are going to stretch out their innings. You're going to be fine. But you go through some of these training things and these rough patches. It's okay to do that early. You want to have these games early where you're like, oh, we got to learn some stuff, take some tough bruises there early, and then you can figure this thing out late. So don't worry, TCU fans. Going another one today at UCLA. Going to be a great series. Can't wait for this one. Let's go to another game that we saw over here. Kansas State and Auburn. Kansas State had been on fire going into this one, and they were completely shut down. Just 4 hits for K-State, 2 from Evan Vasco or AJ Vasco. No extra base hits from Auburn, but they win 5-1. Jake Marciano goes 6 innings pitched, 8 Ks, 2 hits. Really good performance from Auburn, even though they're missing a lot of their pieces as well.
Yeah, if you told me after last weekend where they really struggled with Youngstown State for 2 days out of that series that they were going to go down and shut down that offense in day one, like I would not have believed you. And I picked K-State to win that game. Like there's a reason behind that. That offense looked really sharp. And the Auburn pitching was really, really good. And I think you just got to give Auburn a bunch of credit. Like I think there were some questions around them. Is this really a top 15 after last week? But I don't know. They looked the part yesterday, so I'm really curious to see how they keep that rolling today. They have Florida State today, so they get to face another good lineup. So how can that pitching hold up against another really tremendous lineup?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the case for Auburn early here until they get healthy on the hitting side. The no extra base hits kind of shocked me, and the fact that that's a team that can usually find gaps and is known as a power team. They have struggled with that so far to open up the season. But, again, they haven't lost. Other than that Cincinnati loss where they got shut out 8-0, they haven't lost on a weekend yet. That's okay. Keep winning ball games. Keep piling up those W's. Figure out ways to win, especially when you're missing guys like Chris Rimbert, who are, one of your key players and one of those key sophomores that are back. They got to figure those things out. It's okay. But I think that today's test against Florida State is going to be a big one. I think you're right on there. Talking about a test, UNC, ECU. Tyler, you got to see this one live. The story, of course, is it was Norby versus Decaro. How's this one going to work out? Jason Decaro goes 8 innings, shutout. You and I had talked during the game. We're like, he's not super sharp yet, but the slider was working. I mean, the slider just had its bite, and it really had those ECU hitters just fooled.
Yeah, and the biggest thing that I kind of took away from last night was, he was missing arm side early with the fastball. That was the biggest thing I saw, but he was able to land the breakers very, very well, and he was sequencing fantastically. Once he got into a groove after Norby, he got chased after the 4th inning, so UNC was able to really just get to the ECU bullpen really quickly and just really put this one away for UNC. But Decaro, as he got to the 5th and the 6th, was really mixing everything very, very well, and was able to command everything. The biggest thing for me was the slider's a different shape, which was, I remember as a freshman, it's a pure sweeper. Now it's more of like a 2-plane breaker, and it's tighter. It's about the same velocity band in like the low 80s, but it's a different shape from the curveball now, which I think is a big positive. And just looking at what he's been able to do to open the season last week, had a good start against Indiana. This week, obviously, 8 innings, complete game shutout, and a run rule game. For UNC, this is big. This is big for them. I think if you have Decaro dealing on Friday nights, it makes it a lot easier for your guys and Folger Boaz and Ryan Lynch on the Saturday, Sunday to kind of just go in and act like, we're already up 1-0. We know how good we are. We can put the series away. So next game's at 2 p.m. today. Hopefully to see a little bit more fight from ECU, because it just felt like that they were a little bit flat last night. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But Decaro outdueled Norby. Norby, I felt like, started off very well, but once UNC was able to slow him down and get him away from quick pitching and getting runners on base, he kind of just fell apart.
Yeah, and ended up with all 9 hitters for UNC getting hits last night. Cooper Nicholson, good to see him get his groove going. This is a guy that really crushed it last year in D2, coming into this role now. He hit a home run, and then Eric Paulson hits a home run. As I said, all 9 starters get those hits. I think UNC feels pretty good offensively, and we know what they had pitching-wise, or we thought we knew what they had pitching-wise, and it's there. I mean, it's really, really good. So crazy to see that, just kind of the 10-0. I thought that ECU would fight back. We'll see, though. It's a long series, and they're going to play this home and home. It's pretty exciting. Can't wait for that one. We're going to go over here to UConn and Arizona. They've already played 2 games, and I'm going to go to Will first, and then I'm going to go over to Jamie for this one as well to talk about Arizona. UConn wins the first one 6-4 in 12 innings. In game 2, shuts out Arizona with just 3 hits. Arizona's now 0-6. Will, we knew that there was going to be some struggles for Arizona offensively, but we didn't think it was going to be this rough.
Yeah, it's kind of twofold. Like this series, they've really struggled on offense. Charlie Hale and Charlie West have combined for about 14 innings for starters for UConn and have struck out 19 guys. So they're really struggling on offense this series. But you look at last week and they gave up a ton of runs. Like they gave up 12 to Nebraska, they gave up 12 to Air Force, they gave up 7 to K-State, and they gave up 17 to Arizona State. And we talked a lot this preseason. They're going to struggle at the plate. Like you lose guys like Adonis Guzman, Mason White, and Brendan Summerhill. You're obviously going to lose a lot of offensive production. So I was anticipating them to lose a handful of games early, but I was almost looking for all of these games to be similar to these UConn games. Like you lose a 6-4 game in extras, you lose 4-1, things like that. The pitching has not been super sharp. It's been better this weekend, but man, UConn has been taking it to them on the mound. They've been really struggling at the plate, and they had 3 errors last night. Like they're struggling on defense. And yes, like the loss of Tony Pluta is huge, but I'll be honest, like there hasn't been a lot of situations, even at this point in the season, where he would have pitched. Like they would have used him out of the pen in high leverage spots, but you're not really rolling him out in a 17-7 game against Arizona State. Like you're not really rolling him out in a 12-7 game against Air Force. So even when you factor that in, it's like, how many opportunities would he have had at this point? I'm not ready to hit the panic button yet. Like Chip Hale is as good as they come, but I think the impact of so much of the pitching staff leaving, the coaches, is weighing a lot heavier than I think we even initially anticipated.
Yeah, I mean, we kept saying how good Kevin Vance is, right? Love him, and he goes and gets that job at San Diego State. They've been very good to start this season off, as I projected, because I just know the kind of guy he is, the work ethic he has. And the pitching hasn't been that sharp. They lose a close game to Oregon State. They lose to Stanford. They just keep losing these games that they feel like they should be in, and they're just not getting there. Jamie, if you look as, TCU fan and the Big 12 overall, Arizona was supposed to be maybe one of the top 3 teams in this conference this year and keep battling as an Omaha team returning. This is just a kind of a shock when you look at it, right? 0-6.
A little bit. I think, when you looked at this team, a lot like Will said, you thought the pitching was going to carry the water early while the lineup tried to figure things out, and it just hasn't been the case. Sean Kenny got there on December 23rd, right? Yeah. And so I think that, like Will mentioned, the pitching is struggling because they're still getting to know each other and they're still getting to know their coach. And it takes a lot of time to develop those relationships when you're asking guys to trust you in the middle of games to throw big pitches and to execute the pitch that is called. So I think they're still building that relationship and still kind of figuring things out, which is why we haven't seen maybe the front end starting like we expected to. And the reality is, guys, when you lose Tony Pluta, that goes a lot further than just losing your closer, right? Yeah. That guy was the emotional leader of this team. He's still around, obviously. He's still there. But when you lose a guy who can come in the 7th inning and you're like, oh, yeah, we're good. We've got this now. Tony's here. You don't have that security blanket anymore. And so there's a lot more pressure, I think, mentally on the starters to give length. There's a lot more pressure out of these guys out of the bullpen, knowing that Pluta's not behind them to come kind of save them. And so it just feels to me like Arizona's pitching is pressing right now, and that's leading to the bats maybe pressing a little bit more, thinking, hey, we've got to really pick it up for these guys. And so it's one of those situations where things are starting to compound, and if they don't pull out of it soon, I think I'll be a little bit concerned. But at the same time, similar to TCU, if you just look at the roster on paper, you recognize that there's an abundance of talent there, and they should be capable of pulling out of this hole.
Yeah, I mean, Owen Krimkowski and Smith Bailey, right? You're happy with that 1-2 punch, and you figure eventually they're going to kind of figure this thing out. And it's not like those two have been necessarily bad. Owen hasn't been as sharp as we thought he might be to start the season off. But I feel like if you're an Arizona fan, you go, okay, we have Smith Bailey today for maybe a turn it around game against UConn. Got to feel good about your chances in that one. Got to figure out something offensively. Again, Chip Hale, one of the best in the business, so we know that he's going to try to figure things out or kind of mix things up until he finds that right sauce to get going. This is a team that people didn't really think were going to get to Omaha last year. They took a really hard road going down to Eugene and winning that regional and going up and winning in Chapel Hill. So, again, he figures things out. He gets his team in the right spot. I believe that they're going to be fine. But, again, 0-6 was kind of the shock. But, Charlie West for UConn was really good in the 6 2/3 and 9 Ks there yesterday. Let's go to Florida State and Michigan in the M&G Bank Friday night game. Florida State wins this one 6-1. Gabe Frazier hits 3 hits. Jace Estes hits 3 hits. Gabe Nard comes in and gets his first relief. Looks good for Florida State. Tyler, this is what Florida State had to do. They had to fix their bullpen issues. Wes Mendez starts this thing off, and then the bullpen comes in, is pretty good between John Abraham and Gabe Nard. I think if you're a Florida State fan, you're going, okay, we might have found the right guys in this back end to kind of get us to where we need to be.
Yeah, by the way, I'm not saying the line that Monty says. As much as I am the co-creator of that line, I'm not going to say it publicly. However, the biggest thing for Florida State that kind of really impressed me the most was the way that Wes Mendez has started the year. I do believe he's up to, I believe, 10 1/3 scoreless innings to start the year. Had 20 whiffs yesterday against a Michigan lineup that did very well. I'm surprised this past weekend. But realistically, like what Mendez was able to do for them was fantastic. He had been up to, I believe, 95, 96, was mixing his pitches well. And I was really impressed with the performance that he put together against that lineup. But then you look outside of that, where this Florida State lineup was able to kind of get cranky a little bit middle of the game. I remember they put up a 3 spot in the 6th. With the way that Braden Dowd had 2 hits, Gabe Frazier and Jace Estes were both 3 for 5 and 3 for 4 respectively.
Yep.
So getting production out of everybody in the lineup was pretty big for them. And you mentioned the bullpen. We've seen their bullpen woes in the past couple of years. John Abraham, 2 1/3 scoreless. Obviously, Gabe Nard comes in, closes the game out with a scoreless inning with a strikeout. So this Florida State team is going to be really, really good, even when they don't have their big guys like Miles Bailey. I think he went 0 for 3 with 2 walks yesterday. If they're not performing, they've got a bunch of depth in that lineup. The bottom of the order did very, very well yesterday against this pitching staff.
There's a reason why I picked this as one of the most dangerous lineups, and it's because it's deep all the way 1 through 9. All those guys can produce. I've really loved that they added Braden Dowd to this lineup. I thought that made a huge difference for this team, and you could kind of see it there, and they really have performed 1 through 9. But when you get 3 hits from Gabe Frazier and Jace Estes at the bottom of your lineup, you're feeling really good. That's a good feeling if you're a Florida State fan. Big win, but again, we got that big game today against Auburn. Excited to watch that one. Let's go to a series way out west. The Manoa Magic out there in Hawaii. They're now 5-1. Hakeem Rubello goes out there, gets his second win. 6 innings pitched, just 4 hits, 9 Ks, 1 earned run only. They have not given up a lot of runs while they've been out there so far. Brady Hamilton on the other side for Wichita State, other than the 4 runs in the first, he threw 7 innings of really good baseball for the Shockers to kind of keep him in this game. Hawaii scores 4 in the first and doesn't have to score anymore. And then Thursday night, they get that performance from Grant Garman out of the bullpen when their stud, Isaiah Magdaleno, kind of struggles early in that game. But they get 3 innings of relief out of him. John Alkire now has a pair of saves for them. Talk a little bit about just the magic that is out there in Hawaii.
Yeah, it's been awesome to see Alkire step in, especially in the back end. Like, it's not like Magdaleno is gone, but you bump him into a completely different role. Whereas last year, he was going out there and getting 6, 9 inning saves on certain nights. So to find a replacement that fast, I think is really strong for them. Robello is unbelievable, man. I mean, he struck out 7 against Gonzaga last week. He struck out 9 last night against Wichita State. And you could argue that Wichita State shouldn't have scored last night, right? I mean, they had first and second. You get that double play ground ball. Watanabe makes a tough play, but draws E-Case off the bag for an error, loads the bases. They drive in 2. He was fantastic. And it was good to see a guy like Kamana Nahaku get going. He got his first RBIs of the season after looking, quite frankly, really rough against Gonzaga. So he put together some really strong at-bats, came up clutch. This is a team, they've had 6 different lineups in 6 games this year. So they're just experimenting. Rich Hill is just throwing pieces, and he knows that this lineup is really deep, but it's like, where are they going to fit in the lineup? I'm not sure yet. I mean, they had Ben Ziegler-Namoa lead off last night, which he's typically a middle of the order guy for them, but they look really strong again. Obviously, it's all about the pitching out there. The offense is going to do what it's going to do, and 4 runs was enough to win last night, and it's probably going to be the case again today. I believe we're going to have Liam O'Brien on the mound tonight for them. So anticipating another deep start out of him, and then you'll see a bunch of pieces out of the bullpen. So I think you got to be really fired up about what they've shown so far. Maybe the offense isn't as strong as it was last year, but that's to be expected when you lose guys like Matt Miura to the draft. So I'm still really high on what they're doing on the pitching side, and they're just finding ways to win. And that's as simple as that. You score 4 in the first, all right, we don't have to score the rest of the day.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if Ziegler-Namoa and Nahaku get going, I'm fine with this offense and what they've been able to put in there, in like Jake Redding at the catcher spot. Like, I feel fine with what they're adding. I'm okay with it because the pitching's been so good. What Keith Zuniga's done out there as a pitching coach and got this team to where they are, and the just dominance they have throughout all of their staff. It's not just like the front end guys. They're all their entire bullpen is just dynamite. They can bring in anybody in any situation, and it feels like they're already kind of figuring themselves out. It looks like Alkire might be one of those go-to pressure situation closer guys, and he looks the part. So I'm looking forward to that one. let's go to another series here. Cincinnati and UAB. So Cincinnati goes down, they beat Auburn, and we're like, okay, this is the Cincinnati club that we're like thinking, what has Jordan Bischel done? He's played Bischel ball. They do a little bit of little things. And then they lose 2 in a row to UAB. UAB walks them off on the Thursday night game. They lose last night 8-3. UAB has been really, really good. They look like they're going to compete for the AAU or the American Conference. Like, we're looking at this, Jamie, and it's another Big 12 team that's kind of stumbling early. Is this a shock to people? I mean, I think for me, I was like, okay, Cincinnati, after beating Auburn, they should go down there and win the series. But UAB's been really, really good. And it's not like Cincinnati's been necessarily bad, but I think that they're still trying to find themselves as well.
They are, and it's tough when your Friday night guy comes out and struggles in his first 2 appearances like Nate Taylor has. He's only pitched 7 1/3 through his first 2 starts. He's got a over 6 ERA right now. He did not miss any bats at all against UAB on Thursday, and that was a real challenge for them. So I think when it comes to Cincinnati kind of finding more stability, it's got to start with the front of their rotation in Nate Taylor, because the reality is like a lot of teams in the Big 12, you live and die by your Friday guy. If you get a good start from your Friday night guy, that sets you up really well to win a lot of weekends. If you don't, then you're going to be really behind the 8 ball. And Cincinnati is one of those teams. I love some of their depth. Like Enzo Infeliz is one of my favorite freshmen in the league. Right now, Noah Darling is a guy that turned me on to him, and he's been incredible for them. But they've got to find more consistency from their bats up and down the lineup. And look, I like this team. I had them picked like 6th or 7th in the league this year. I have them preseason in the tournament again. But right now, it's just not clicking. Good thing is that it's early. It's the middle of February. But I'm concerned about Nate Taylor, and I'm also concerned about this bullpen. If they don't get those things in order quickly, then I think this could continue to slide south for Cincy.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to figure some stuff out, and they got to be able to go out there and score runs. They got to be able to put pressure on teams. That's how they're going to win baseball games, but they also got to be able to pitch, and they haven't been able to do that at a consistent level at this point in the season yet. Again, it's early. We don't want to hit panic button on any of these, but we're just noticing trends already early in the season that we need to see cleaned up for these teams to be productive at the end of the season. NC State, Princeton. I had highlighted this series. I really think that this is an opening one for Princeton, and they showed the part. They look good in that game there against NC State. They lose 4-6. NC State, again, Chris McHugh and Dalton Bargo, both homer for the win there. Princeton stayed tough. Tommy Googans hits a home run in the 9th, but it just wasn't quite enough. I really want to highlight, one arm that they're going to throw today, and Liam Keenan for Princeton. If you guys haven't watched, he's really terrific stuff. Got a weird arm slot, and I think that he's going to be really good for this one. I think that he might challenge NC State, but again, NC State walks through this one, so very good for them. Baylor and Oregon State last night. Dax Whitney ties the Oregon State record with 17 strikeouts in 7 innings. Gets a no decision because the bullpen gives up a run. He only had a 1-0 lead after his 7 innings of pitched. Easton Talt robs a home run in the 7th for him. Gets over the wall, steals one back as he did last year in this same exact tournament, and then he singles home the winning runs in the 9th. So, this feels like I've said all year, all offseason, I said this is going to feel a lot like the 06-07 Oregon State teams where they're not going to hit the ball around the yard. They're going to do the little things right. They're going to pitch and play defense. That's exactly what they've done, Will. I mean, 17 strikeouts from Dax. If you didn't win that game, you're feeling really bad of an Oregon State fan.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I kind of want to shift the conversation more towards Baylor than Oregon State.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, what Dax Whitney did was unbelievable. But Baylor was a team that I talked about. Mitch Thompson is a terrific head coach. And this was a team that I was buying stock in this year. They were picked pretty low in the Big 12. I had them a little bit higher. I like them to win a lot of games. They brought back a lot of pitching. And they've showed out really well so far. I mean, they took it to Texas State, a really solid Texas State team in the midweek this week, capitalized on a ton of mistakes. And while you struck out 17 times against Dax, like, the offense wasn't horrific. Like, you struck out a bunch. Yeah, like, you didn't have a ton of base runners on. You got out hit. But to hang around with a team like Oregon State like that against one of the best pitchers in the country and limit the offensive damage, I think is really impressive, more so than, them just kind of getting blown away on on the offensive side by Whitney and company. But I was really impressed with Baylor, and I have been impressed with Baylor. I think they're going to be a lot sneakier in the Big 12 than I think people have given them credit for. But again, Oregon State, like, how many times is Oregon State going to score 3 runs on 9 hits? Like, probably not often this year. You're probably going to punch in a couple more than that. So that was encouraging to see that at least they were on base and they were getting hits, drawing good at bats. But again, like the run production, it's going to have to tick up for Oregon State at some point.
Yeah. No, they only have one loss at this point in the season, but they're only +3 in runs right now through the season, which is wild to think of. The fact that pitching staff, we all believe, is one of the best in the country. They've kind of shown that, especially the frontline starters are that good. But yeah, congrats to Dax on setting the Oregon State record, tying the Oregon State record with Cooper Jerpy on the 17 strikeouts, even though he did get the no decision. I'm going to shift gears to a game here before Tyler, before you take off for your travel day. Louisville and Nebraska in the Amity Bank Classic there. Louisville wins this one 4-2. Just 8 hits for Louisville. Tank Davis hits a solo shot in the 7th to kind of seal it, but they hit into 5 double plays. Other than the 23 runs in the midweek game, this offense has really been struggling. Now, it was good to see out of the bullpen Jack Brown and Aaron England come in and combine for 3 1/3 innings of relief, just 1 hit. But the hitting is just not there yet. Is this, more things to come? Is it just because like Zion Rose is still out? What are we looking for as far as an ACC team? Louisville has just not been where we thought that they would be as a top 10 team.
Yeah, I think you kind of nailed it on the head. This team's not fully healthy yet. Not having Zion Rose in that lineup is definitely taking a toll a little bit here to kind of start the year. And kind of looking at what the rest of the lineup has been able to do. You mentioned Tate Davis hitting the late home run to take this game. But outside of that, like Lucas Moore only went 1 for 4. There wasn't really anybody that had a standout performance apart from Griffin Crane, who was a 9-hole hitter for them, who went 2 for 2. And was really a big catalyst for this Louisville offense. But, it's one of those situations where I feel like once this team does get fully healthy, get Zion Rose back and kind of finds its stride, they'll be in a good spot. It was nice to see. It's definitely nice to see the bullpen kind of bounce back too. Ethan Eberle went 5 2/3. He did walk 4, but he only gave up 2 runs. So that was a big positive to kind of look at if you're Louisville. And then you get Jake Beam today down there. So I'm interested to see what happens the rest of the weekend for them. Would like to see Ben Slinker kind of bounce back from yesterday's performance. He went 0 for 4 with 2 Ks after having a pretty solid start to the year. So yeah, a little hiccups here and there, but I think once they get fully healthy, they'll be completely fine.
Yeah, I think it's just, getting through the early part of this season for them. They haven't looked great, the 2 losses to Michigan State in opening weekend. But again, they're not healthy, and it's another one of those things where don't hit the panic button, guys. Like, we believe that they have the talent. You look up and down this roster, they're fine. So they're going to find themselves, again, another great coach there in Dan McConnell. So not to worry there, guys, and just kind of pay attention, but don't hit the panic button yet. A team that I think we probably should be looking at more, and I have their hat right over my shoulder here, the West Virginia Mountaineers. Jamie, 12-0 last night against Liberty, allowing just 3 hits. And they get 12 with themselves, and Sean Smith hits a solo home run. Paul Schoenfield hits a grand slam in the 8th. Jansen Cole goes 5 1/3 with 2 hits, 2 walks, 7 Ks, gets the win. Is it time to start talking about this team? I know that for me, they were like, hey, they got a lot of prove me, and I want to see some of these guys that are coming from the D2, D3 level. They look the part.
They do. And frankly, the schedule sets up really nicely to get a lot of these D2 arms accommodated to D1 baseball. But I mean, Dawson Montesa was my newcomer of the year coming into this season. I've really loved what he had at Adelphi. I think he's a great pitcher. And I was a little surprised, frankly, when they came out and called him their Sunday guy in week 1. Obviously, he moved up. He's going to pitch today.
Now. Yeah.
But Jansen Cole has been such a pleasant surprise. He was kind of the 3rd D2 guy in my mind behind Montesa and Ian Korn. And he, like you mentioned, he's just been great in that Friday role right out of the gate. So this is a West Virginia team that feels like it's reloading instead of rebuilding after running into LSU in the Super last year was so tough because I thought that was a team that legitimately had Omaha potential. You come back and you rebuild the pitching staff a little bit. You get guys back like Brody Kresser. You get Matthew Graveland from Ohio State, who's been really good out of the gate for them this season. And there's a reason West Virginia has won 2 of the last Big 12 regular season championships, right? They're an under talked about team, but they're really talented. The transition from their previous head coach to Steve Saban's has been flawless. And I think that they've got some real momentum from the fan base, from the administration. I think we're going to continue to see more and more from the Mountaineers throughout the next few years. And they've gotten off to a great start this year.
Yeah, and it's a great ballpark to go watch in Morgantown. Like, there's people are showing up.
Mm-hmm.
It's the support that they're getting right now is awesome. And we love it in the college baseball realm. And the fact that one of these teams like a West Virginia has been playing so well and getting well received by its fan base, I love it. It's tremendous. And the fact that they're playing so good with all these pieces that they've brought in this year, I really thought that they would struggle. I know that the schedule is a little bit softer for them and easy at the beginning and kind of letting these guys get acclimated, as you mentioned. But the fact that they've just dominated and really played good baseball is a little bit of a surprise to me. So I'm for me, as long as they continue this trend, they're going to be in my top 25 after this weekend because of how well that they have performed. Another team that's kind of struggling, Arkansas. I know they won. I know they beat Xavier 2-5 yesterday. And Geico and Gibbler, this combo on Friday night, they do it again. Just the 9 hits, 2 runs, 9 Ks between them. They gave up the 2 solo shots to Xavier and Stonehouse and Fitz. Cam Kozel hits the 3 home run in the first inning, but there really wasn't much other for Arkansas as far as offense. Struck out 12 times and only had 7 base runners.
Yeah, it's funny because we talked about ECU a little bit. Tyler did early in the show, and I walked away from last weekend when Xavier played ECU. I didn't take it as necessarily a knock to ECU, but I was more impressed with Xavier than I thought I was going to be. I think I walked away thinking Xavier's a lot better than what the public perception might be, and they showed it again yesterday. I mean, this is a really, really good ball club. They were a really good ball club last year. The pitching has been really good for them. I mean, Ryan Peach struck out 9 last night in an Arkansas lineup that is pretty heavy firepower. Obviously, you give up the big home run early, but then you settle in and the bullpen does its job. And to hold Arkansas, I mean, they out-hit Arkansas yesterday. They had 9 hits. Arkansas had 5. Arkansas got the big hit, which in baseball is really what it comes down to. But I thought Xavier looked really good. I think this is a very, very good 2-3 ball club. Like, probably as good as they come in terms of teams that have a losing record right now. One of the better ones. And I wouldn't be surprised if they steal a game in this thing. Like, I'm curious to see what they do. I mean, I thought they looked really good against Arkansas's front line pitching. So how are they going to look as Arkansas's depth gets shown?
Yeah, I think there's just so many question marks. And can Dietz be good today against the Xavier lineup? I mean, I think that's one of the highlights that I want to watch today is can Arkansas kind of find their way? Because offensively, they've been all over the board. Yeah, they've had some big hits, and a lot of them have been Kozel going out there and getting the big hit for them. But the fact of the matter is, just 7 base runners is not going to do it, especially when you get to SEC play and you're not facing necessarily SEC Friday night guys out of Xavier. Yes, good arms, not great arms, not the best arms in the country, and you're going to see that when you play SEC ball. I'm going to switch to another SEC game where Texas A&M takes to the bottom of the 9th to walk off Penn 1-0. Boston Keller hits the 9-hole hitter. The shortstop gets a game-winning RBI double. Only extra base hit of the day. Shane's today, though, looked great, though. 7 innings, 3 hits, 0 walks, 7 Ks. Tyler, this is kind of what we expected him to be able to do. I don't know if it was going to be this high at this part of the season, but the fact that he's able to do this and Texas A&M wins without getting hits, we know that they're missing some lineup pieces, but, they got to be better than 1-0, but they're going to take a win when they can get it, even against a gritty Penn team.
Yeah, I think you nailed it pretty well there. This is a Penn team that's really gritty and knows how to play ball. This is a team that, if I remember correctly, they were the 4 seed in Auburn a couple years ago and made it to the regional final down there, or at least made it very, very close. And, granted, that's a couple years ago, but this Penn team is very, very good. But you mentioned Sadeo and Peyton Sauer, who is he was with Auburn. He's working with us in a couple other places, but he was doing pitch plot last night, and Sadeo was really leaning heavily on the cutter slider, which is fantastic because I thought those were the best pitches in 2024. The fastball is good, but obviously you look at the field of spin and the field of shape pitches for him. The slider is just downright disgusting. And to go 7 shutout with only 3 hits allowed, no walks, 7 Ks, that's somebody that gets the job done. And having him coming back is huge for them, especially with the injuries they've had to kind of start the year. I believe it was McCoy. The bullpen is going to be pitching this year. They lost, I believe it was Isaac Morton. Might be misled on the name a little bit, but I know he went back to Minnesota and he's been fantastic for them so far. But having Sadeo back is huge for this team, and hopefully the lineup kind of figures itself out a little bit more here. Obviously, last night you look at it, Jake Dower and Terrence Keel were the big performers, going 2 for 4 each. Boston Kellner obviously with the big hit in the bottom of the 9th, which I just feel like the center fielder just really didn't see very well personally. Like he undercut the route, it went over his head, and that's a tough one to kind of look at if you're Penn. But again, there's still 2 games left in the series. I thought they showed a lot of fight last night, and for A&M, get Chris Akopian back maybe this weekend. See how that kind of shapes out the lineup, but excited to see the rest of the series because I feel like it's going to be pretty underrated in terms of just excitement. Really, I think it's a really solid series to have down there in College Station.
Yeah,
I want to say one thing on A&M.
Yeah.
I think what you have to a good lens to look at it is like these are games that A&M lost last year. Like these really tight games against scrappy mid-majors. Like they lost these games last year. So for them to go out and win, I think is a really good sign. And this is really the first time we haven't seen the offense be like unbelievable. And so for them to still go out and win, I think you got to take some really positive feedback out of this game for A&M. And we've talked about it. Like this could be a team that people are kind of sleeping on after last year, and they could be really, really dang good. And the pieces are showing, and they're winning games that last year they just quite frankly didn't.
Yeah, they could not win those close games last year. They could not figure out a way to win these games where they were down or even going into the late series. So good to see that for them. Again, you'll take a win early, but you're kind of questioning the offense. But the offense has been fine throughout the season. So guys, don't panic. Again, week 2 theory of the week is don't panic. Quit hitting the panic button on your teams, guys. It's okay. We're early into the season. If this is the same trend here in 6 weeks, then we'll talk more about that. But right now, don't panic. Jamie, I'm going to go to you for a couple of these teams down in Texas that have matched up with each other. 2 really terrific mid-majors that have been really good the last few seasons. DBU and UTSA. UTSA scores 6 in the first, sets the tone, but a back and forth game as DBU comes back and pressures. Both teams hit 3 home runs each, but Sam Simmons out of the bullpen for UTSA was the difference. So on 4 2/3 of relief, allowing just the 1 run and holding down this DBU team after they had scored 7 off the starter and came back in this game being down 6-0 in the first. Really good back and forth. Both these teams could be tournament bound.
They could be. I really liked the fight that I saw from UTSA, considering that they lost their Friday starter in the middle of his start last week. And so you kind of have to scramble. Kelly Connor had a great first inning and a really good second inning, and that kind of set the tone. I know he struggled in the 3rd and 4th there a little bit and gave way to Simmons later in the game. But when you have the bats that UTSA has, the ability to put up runs against a pitching staff at DBU that maybe isn't at the level that we're used to seeing from the Patriots this year, it was a really great Friday night start for UTSA. Love it. I know we're going to get into picks a little bit later here, but UTSA, the depth of their lineup, the pitching depth that they showed last night, the ability to just use 2 arms generally, I thought was really good for them, set them up the rest of the weekend. So like you said, this is the potential to have 2 tournament teams. I don't think DBU is going to be like a top 16 host conversation kind of team this year. I think they could slide into the 2 seed conversation if they figure out their weekend rotation a little bit. And then UTSA, when they get, I think it's Orlovsky is his name, when they get him back, I think that this is going to be a really, really dangerous mid-major the rest of the way.
Yeah, I mean, both these teams can hit, and we kind of knew that going in. It was the pitching questions, especially with Orlovsky going down and going, who are they going to go to on Friday night in this series specifically? And it's good to see them go out there and get that win. I thought Simmons out of the bullpen again, though, was just terrific, going the 4 2/3 and kind of stabilizing what felt like it was starting to crumble along their feet there and coming out there and really shutting that one down and then giving UTSA the opportunity to go out there and win the rest of that one. Ole Miss and Missouri State. Will, I know you talked about this series. We talked about it on Thursday. We talked about it in the top 25 series. We got 6-11. Ole Miss hangs on. Hunter Elliott wasn't sharp, but did enough to hold these guys off the scoreboard and only allowing the 1 in the first inning after hitting 3 batters. Talk a little bit about this team, because I know that you're really high on Missouri State, and they're America's team this year for you.
Yeah, I wanted to see how they perform. And I mentioned it on Thursday night, like how are they going to compete with a top SEC arm? And I thought they competed their tails off. And sure, they were handed plenty of free bags. Hunter Elliott had 6 walks and 3 hit by pitches. So obviously they got some help there. But to hang 4 on him is still really solid. And this game really came down to a grand slam. Like Missouri State gave up a grand slam in the first inning, and they lost by 5. So the way that I'm seeing it is like, okay, Juszczyk kind of got hit around in the first. You give up the really big hit with 2 strikes and 2 outs. Like you had a shot to get out of the inning there, and you give up a grand slam instead. That completely flipped this game. And I really think Missouri State's going to take one in this game. I thought the offense was terrific. They had 8 hits. Raisler was a guy that I mentioned on Thursday as well. He's just going to be an anchor for them. Bogenpol went 1 for 2 with 2 walks. I think they're going to steal one. I don't know which one they're going to take, but they're going to steal a game in this series.
Yeah, and I think we all agreed that it probably wasn't going to be Friday versus Hunter Elliott. Now,
Yeah.
they had their chance. I mean, they were right there in the first. If they get a hit, if they push some across there in the first, maybe they put different pressure on there. But then, in the bottom half of that inning when they gave up the grand slam, that kind of like, okay, Hunter Elliott's going to calm down. He's going to settle in. He's going to go out there and do the things. We like this Missouri State offense, especially. They did a lot of addition in the portal, and they have a lot of talent already in Caden Bogenpool. But we're going to have to see what happens the rest of the weekend. Lots of home runs this year, I think, are going to happen in Swayze. This Ole Miss team is just really cranking the ball already early, and it's good to see that for Ole Miss fans. I'm going to shift to another one down in the Jacks Classic where we saw LSU beat Indiana 14-7. That was a good start for them. There were some weird calls in that game, but LSU does hang on to that one. But the other game in that series there, UCF and Notre Dame, goes 10. UCF wins it in the 10th. But the thing that people were overlooking is that Jack Rattal, he threw 6 perfect innings with 9 strikeouts to start that game for Notre Dame, and then they pull him, and then UCF scores 1 in the 8th, 1 in the 9th, and then 2 in the 10th. I know it's early. It just, to me, it felt rough to have to pull your guy. And I know that Stifler he's gonna do what's best by his players. He's not gonna put them in a situation to get hurt. He wants to make sure they're healthy through the season. It's a long season again. But when you're perfect through 6 and then you get pulled and then you get the no decision, that feels tough to me. And a good win for UCF, honestly, to go out there and go do that. Williamson hitting that triple there in the 9th as their emotional and bat leader for them, getting that tie ball game there. And then Hankerson Jr. with the 2 RBI single in the 10th. Enough to win it. A gritty win for UCF that we've talked about as being a really, really good team. You know what, Jamie, I'm going to go to you as your feelings on that when you throw 6 perfect innings, and 9 strikeouts and then you get relieved. I mean, it's tough, but it's a decision you got to make early in the season, as we've seen before, like the Hagen Smiths against Oregon State. They had to do the same thing where he was electric and had the 15 strikeouts, and you just kind of have to make those decisions early in these series.
You really do. I mean, 68 pitches, you're going to look at that pitch count and be like, yeah, obviously he had 2 or 3 more innings left in the tank, but it's February, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, teams that haven't gotten out to the start that they wanted to don't need to hit the panic button yet. Teams like Notre Dame don't need to be fully stepping on the gas with some of their frontline starters quite yet either, because they're going to need those guys to be able to throw a lot of innings come April and May, and you don't want to use them that much early in the season. You obviously would have liked to get this win. I thought the bullpen for UCF also pitched really great. Just 1 hit allowed over 4 1/3 innings. Obviously Williams with the big hit there in the 9th as well, or Williamson, sorry. And how about just another Lodice coming into college baseball and making noise early? What a family, what a baseball family that is. He's been great at shortstop for them. Didn't get a hit last night. Had a couple tough at bats, but has looked pretty solid in that role early on this season, and is going to be a great player for the Knights moving forward. Big win for UCF coming off of that midweek loss at Miami too, where they had the 5-0 lead. It looked like they had the Hurricanes on the ropes. Couldn't shut them down. Scored in the 10th, gave up a run, scored in the 12th or 13th, and then gave up the walk-off home run, which is another great story in and of itself. So good to see the Knights bounce back. Obviously, if you're a Notre Dame fan, you're probably a little salty this morning, but it's a long season and things are going to be okay.
Yeah, and folks were asking me, hey, who's going to compete with LSU down here for this title in the Jacks? I said it's UCF. I think that what they have as far as a full total team, I think that they match up better than anybody else. But I was very impressed with Notre Dame, and I know that our guy Monty Taylor was very high on Notre Dame this year, and he kept trying to convince me, and he calls me the Notre Dame hater. But I will give kudos to them. They looked the part. They looked really good and solid in that game. Unfortunately, the UCF did come away with that win. And Jamie, to let you know, I picked Jordan Lodice to win Freshman of the Year in the Big 12 because I was like, this kid is terrific. And his coach said he gained 3 to 4 inches of height in the offseason, like between September and January when he came back. Like, the fact is that he's going to be a terrific shortstop for them. I hope that he stays all his years at UCF, but that's just not the case usually in today's game of college baseball. But big for him to go down there, and big for UCF to kind of get off to a better start than they did last year.
Just a quick shout.
Yeah.
Sorry, just a quick shout out to the freshman class in the Big 12. I mean, you look at
unbelievable
Lodice, you look at Brady Janusek at Baylor, you look at Infelice at Cincinnati, Lucas Franco at TCU, right? Like these schools know how to recruit top talent. Now retention is the next step, right? But the freshman class in the Big 12 this year is just absolutely outstanding, and it's going to be a blast to watch.
Yeah, and they already had the freshman class last year that's all sophomores this year. The underclassmen in the Big 12 are really what's driving that conference, and it's terrific to see. I think if those guys can stay in conference and stay on those teams, we're going to see a really good Big 12 here in the next couple of years, and is even better than what we've seen so far from them, which has been just electric. And I think a lot of people around the country are kind of underrating the Big 12 this year because, Arizona lost a lot of talent, and that's the team that got to Omaha. But the rest of the teams in this conference are really, Arizona State's being underrated. They have a ton of young talent on that squad too. So, I mean, the Big 12's back, people. It's really going to be a good baseball conference. It's not just Oklahoma State and everybody else like it has been in years past, and Texas Tech and Oklahoma State are the teams that are maybe down towards the middle to bottom of this conference. Look at some of these other teams we're talking about in the West Virginias, the UCFs, TCUs. Like, these are the teams that are really going to put pressure on other schools as far as countrywide. Will, Liam Peterson, my enigma of the week, because somehow he goes out there and goes 5 1/3, 1 hit, 12 Ks. He looks like the guy that we all think he could be every single outing. He does it this week and beats Kennesaw State. Unbelievable performance by him, but why can't we see just this as a normal thing for him every single week? He has that kind of arm talent.
That is an excellent question. I wish I had an answer for that, but I just don't. I don't have an answer for that. I mean, he was fantastic. We saw him do it last year early on. I believe he had 12 or 13 strikeouts against Air Force last season early on. It felt like that performance again. It was like, all right, like, here it is. We're back. It looked great. Florida offense looked really solid. They put up 10 hits. I know the score was dressed up a little bit. I mean, this was truly a 9-0 game. Kennesaw strikes across 3 in the 9th against, I want to say it was Christian Rodriguez there at the end. Or no, it was Cade McDonald. Yep. So they scrape across 3. Sarowick hits a home run, so that was good to see. I think he's a guy that we've talked about him in the past. Just absolutely mashed in the Northwoods. I got some live looks at him. Like, the swing is unbelievable in that kid. He's got some real raw power. Really, really fun bat. Blake Sear had 2 RBI. He's a guy that, if you can get him really productive like he was at Miami his freshman year, this lineup just gets even deeper. I want to see it again. I want to see Peterson go out next week and do it again. So I think I'm kind of just waiting for that consistency piece. Like, we know that this is what he's capable of. And it's not just, and Kennesaw State's a very good mid-major, but it's not just against mid-majors that he can do this against. Like, he can do this against the LSUs of the world, but he's got to go out and show it every single week.
Yeah, he does. I mean, we've said, hey, if he struggles again, maybe he gets moved to that Saturday, but he didn't struggle. And this is why I call him the big enigma in college baseball, because he can be this guy against anybody any Friday night. That's how good his arm talent is. If he can throw strikes, he's really tough to hit. And I think just unbelievable performance. Again, if it wasn't for Dax Whitney later in the evening to go out there and get the 17 Ks, he's probably the pitcher of the week that we look at right now. But I think Dax is going to end up winning that award, being the 17 Ks, even though he didn't get the win, which win should be a team stat, not a pitching stat. But anyway, that's another hill for me to die on later. But the fact is, Liam Peterson was terrific. I also want to highlight Kyle Jones getting 3 hits again. He's been really solid for them in center field and doing a lot of things right for them. And I just wanted to highlight that young man because he's been going through a lot over the last few years, and being able to go out there and be performing for them at this high of level in center field. And he's hitting over 460 right now to start this season. Good for them. I'm just going to name some quick scores because we got some other stuff to get to in this hour. Gonzaga losing at Texas State 6-8. Texas State comes back to win that one. Future Pac-12 folks. Cannot wait to see more of that. That's going to be some super fun baseball in the next few years in the Pac-12. Portland goes down to UCSB. Jackson, Florida does it again, wins 4-1 down there for UCSB. Fullerton goes down and beats Stanford 4-2. And California goes down and loses at UC Irvine 3-5. UC Irvine looks the part. They were very good in that one. Cal scores late, so that one was another one of those where those runs came in late, and UC Irvine really looked great early in that one. I want to move into some of these games here where we're going to talk about some of the Saturday games. And Jamie, I'm going to go to you. Which one are you most excited for here on this Saturday or Sunday, the rest of the weekend, for these series that we're talking about for these games?
I am very looking forward to Auburn, Florida State today.
Yeah,
these are 2 teams that have so much potential. They've struggled in different areas to start the year and have still found ways to win ball games. Auburn, I think, has some of the best pitching in the country. Florida State might have some of the best lineup depth in the country, and we get to see those 2 things kind of collide head on this afternoon in Arlington. It's like 20 minutes from my house. I'm super tempted just to go over there and catch it.
Down.
But either way, that's the one that I'm probably looking forward to the most. And then, can UCF stand up to a test like LSU is probably the second game that I'm paying attention to today.
Yeah, that one's going to be a blast. Is that one today or is that Sunday? I think it's.
Or that might be Sunday.
That's
That might be
the Sunday game,
Yeah.
because I was like, I'm super excited for that Sunday, the go home series, seeing who wins that Jack's tournament down there, because I did pick UCF to actually upset LSU, but it's going to be interesting to see, can a Sunday pitching staff of UCF, after pitching all these games already in the midweek and going into this weekend, can they match up against that LSU offense that has been on fire to start this thing? Will, which games are you looking forward to this weekend, man?
I think my biggest one is today. It's going to be Southern Miss and Oregon State.
Yeah.
Feels like a matchup where Oregon State's going to have a little bit, at least a starting pitching advantage. I believe it should be Graydon Harris for Southern Miss, who struggled last week, but not indicative. We're going on small sample size. He threw 3 innings last week. So I'm not putting a ton of stock into that. But the way that Oregon State has struggled on offense, I believe the Southern Miss pitching staff can hold them down. I have a good feeling you'll probably see Cross Sibley at some point out of the bullpen for them. He's a guy that could be a frontline starter, and he's kind of been there. He's kind of a swingman. He's kind of played that role over the last couple of years. Kid has unbelievable talent. The offense is really, really fun. And on the other side, you've got Ethan Kleinschmidt going for Oregon State. We mentioned it, like the bullpen struggled a little bit yesterday, and struggle is very subjective and not super true. But, it gives Dax Whitney the no decision instead of the win. If it's a similar game, I kind of like Southern Miss's odds. Like if Kleinschmidt comes out and it's a 1-0 game, or if it's a 1-1 game, I really like Southern Miss's odds to walk away with a really big win that I think that they can get today. So that one is just a heavyweight matchup. I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to, can the Oregon State offense score? Because I think we know what we're going to get from Ethan Kleinschmidt. He was so consistent last year in his first year at Oregon State. Obviously, the walk to strikeout ratio is ridiculous in his favor for strikeouts. And this kid has just been unbelievable for Oregon State, and he continues to rise up draft boards as a left-handed arm. People really talking more and more about him and his consistency and his ability to pitch versus just throw hard. And I think that's what it's going to come down to. Can Oregon State's offense score runs? Can they figure out a way to produce more of these runs early in these games and give these starting pitchers maybe a little bit of a break? Because, Dax Whitney has thrown 2 games and been really good. He's given up 1 earned run, and he has no wins. He's 0-0. Like, the fact is, 2 no decisions for him, and he's been really, really good with the 26 strikeouts already this season. And the fact of the matter is, he doesn't have a win yet. Ethan also, same boat. He didn't get a win in his first start. Can he go out there, and can the offensive production for Oregon State be there? I'm looking forward to Louisville Auburn on Sunday, which I know that the matchups that Auburn gets this week is tough. They get K-State, Florida State, and Louisville. That's a good test for Auburn as far as 3 days go. You're not going to get a much tougher test for 3 days than that. And I know that, Jamie, you already mentioned that game against Florida State today. I'm looking forward to that one on Sunday against Louisville, because does Louisville have the pitching to match with Auburn's pitching on Sunday? And can either one of these teams figure out things offensively? Very excited for that one. And my other one also is K-State versus Michigan, because I feel like these are both just below tier 1 teams in those conferences, in the Big 10 and Big 12. And these 2 teams could be the teams that are battling kind of for one of those last 4 in tournament wise that we're looking for at the end of the season. Michigan's been good early. K-State's been good early. Can these 2 teams match up and produce something on Sunday that's exciting to watch? I believe so. Very excited for that one. Our pick'em stats, our games this week are very exciting as far as we got our total games here. I don't know if we have the graphic or if Jared's still there. But we've got UNC and ECU today. There it is. And I know I'll go around here to you guys here. I took UNC to win today because these are the Saturday only games. I took UNC here. Jamie, who'd you go with on this one?
I went with North Carolina as well.
Yep.
I think they set a real tone to be able to go into the jungle against Ethan Norby and win the way they did. And now you get the neutral site game today, I think is really big. So I'm going with Carolina.
Me as well. Will?
Yeah, I'm going chalk on this one. It's UNC, especially after yesterday.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the right direction here, especially seeing how Jason Decaro carved up that team, and now you get Folger Boaz going in a neutral site game on Saturday. Like, that's a pretty tough one. Folger Boaz, another Friday night guy who's pitching on Saturdays for UNC. Let's go to the next game here, Florida State and Auburn. I took Florida State in this one. Jamie, where'd you go?
I went with Auburn because of the pitching matchup in this one. Jackson Saunders against Bryson Moore. Moore did not have a great start. He needs to work to get back on track for Florida State. I liked that Auburn started to get hits yesterday. I know that they didn't have any extra base hits, but 11 is a good number. If they can get to more early and get some run support for Jackson, I think it's going to be a really good day for the Tigers.
Yeah, and as we haven't mentioned on the show, Trey Beard out again, had the flu, lost a bunch of weight. He's going to have to take some time to get back to himself because he was projected to be that Saturday starter for Florida State. Got the flu before his first start. He is not pitching tonight. Will, where'd you go on this one?
Yeah, I went with Florida State. Like I thought they looked really strong against Tate Carey yesterday. And they're going to have another really good opportunity to face a really good arm. And I like their odds. Like I was really impressed with the at-bats they put together on Tate Carey and that Michigan team. And I talked about that bullpen being really strong. I think Auburn's pitching staff is a tier above what Michigan has, but to get after Tate Carey like that, I'm kind of on the Knowles today. I like it a lot, even without
I like
the
the
pitching.
offense
Like
for the
I think
Knowles.
that
I mean,
offense is
yeah, I'm with you. That's where I went with them. I think that it's just the offense and the fact of no Chris Rimbert for Auburn kind of made me go, okay, well, that offense is good, but is it elite right now? I think missing maybe the best bat in this draft class as far as hit tool. It might be tough for Auburn, but if again their pitching, like Jamie mentioned, is better in this matchup. The Saturday night guys lean towards Auburn for this one, but I did take Florida State. The next series is TCU at UCLA. I took UCLA. Will, I think you took UCLA as well.
I think I did with Lepore out
Yep.
and having to move Brassfield up. I believe Lance Davis is throwing today
Lance
for
Davis throwing
TCU.
today.
Yep. Who struggled at times last week. I just think that depth, like Jamie mentioned, like they were number one for a reason. Just kind of getting the feet wet last week, and they looked really, really strong yesterday. So it's hard not to back a team that comes off of that performance.
Yeah, and I think you're getting for our UCLA, you're getting Michael Barnett probably, maybe thrown today. So I mean, the fact is that's a lot of experience coming in and being your Saturday starter for them with Logan Redmond getting the win yesterday. Where are you going on that one, Jamie? No pressure here, no pressure at all.
Yeah, look, I sent these picks in. I think around the same time I reported that Tommy Lepore was going to miss this weekend, and so I was feeling a little slighted by the Frogs. I picked UCLA. I think that Lance Davis in his first collegiate start, like you mentioned, Will struggled at times against Oklahoma, didn't locate really, really well. He has to give TCU length today in order for them to stand a chance. The good news for the Frogs is that they didn't use any of their kind of premier bullpen arms in that loss on Friday, so they've still got they've still got Saguspi, they've still got Nate Stern, they've still got Walt Quinn, the Grand Canyon transfer, and so they've got depth in the bullpen. But the bats got to stop chasing high fastballs. I don't think it happens today against Michael Barnett, and I think UCLA takes the series.
Yeah, I think for me, it was looking at just the depth also of the bullpen for UCLA, and they have so many arms that are just so experienced and they can go on a lot of different ways. Will, I've actually just been told by our producer, Jared Perkins, that you did take TCU. You did take TCU. You did not take UCLA.
I think I picked before the Lepore news broke. So
I believe we made our picks on Monday before we did the top 25 show, so we were early. But still, I'm not to throw you under the bus.
Shout out to Jared for keeping me accountable.
We're full transparency on this show. We are never going to sly away from our picks or what we say. I will stand behind everything that we do, and we are very transparent. So I love that part of us. We got the Oregon State Beavers and Southern Miss today. I took the Beavers, obviously being the West Coast resident here for all of us in college baseball, being the guy out here in Oregon. And I just think that it's Ethan Kleinschmidt versus anybody of that lineup for USM, right? And I think if Oregon State can score, then they should be fine because of how good Ethan Kleinschmidt is. Jamie, where'd you go on this one?
I went with Kleinschmidt in Oregon State as well. I will say, though, I liked Will's commentary about if this is a low-scoring game late, that, the Eagles could really pull off some magic here. USM is just a team that I don't want to meet them after midnight in a dark alley. I feel like they're like a kind of scrappy bar fight kind of team. And if things are close late, I like their chances, but I went with Oregon State.
I thought the same thing because I'm like, okay, this USM team kind of feels like ECU did 3 years ago, where they were just scrappy and figured out ways to win games late. And it didn't. If they were in a close ball game, they were going to win it. That's kind of how they felt, and they felt that way in the opening series against UCSB, and they win again in this close game last night against Purdue. So I like that, but I'm going Oregon State as well with you. Will, where'd you go?
I think Jared is just going to have to be my fact checker on the back end right now, because I did not write down who I picked, and this is a handful of days ago. I believe I took Oregon State as well. Just the 1-2 of Dax Whitney and Ethan Kleinschmidt and that bullpen. Again, I think USM has a legit chance to take one of these games this weekend, but I'd be hard-pressed to believe they take both.
You did take Southern Miss.
Ah,
I'm kidding.
All right, give me the Eagles. We're going back.
I love that you're able to argue both sides of it, though, Will. That means you're a true commentator of this game, and you do care about every bit of college baseball. I love that fact.
I'll make a note to write these down next week. Give me Southern Miss. I knew I went a little bit contrarian on one of them, and I couldn't remember which one it was. It's obviously this one. Again, like this offense is really, really good. I thought they looked really good against UCSB last week. They've got a legit chance to take today, and I think take the series.
And then UTSA and DBU, I went UTSA. I believe, Jamie, you went with me on the UTSA train.
I did. I just like the grit that the Roadrunners have this year. I think the lineup is really potent, like they showed on Friday. And as I mentioned, DBU's pitching staff, I don't think is at the caliber that it has been in recent years. Now, the question for UTSA is how does your weekend rotation stack up now that you had to use the Saturday guy on Friday? I think that kind of levels the playing field a little bit, but Roadrunners are at home. The fan base is awesome, and I think they get it done.
Yeah, and I think they take this series, and I think that this is the big one that they have to go out and get. I think if they go to a Sunday, it's a really tight game, especially with now they're going to be on their fourth starter, attempting to go out there and beat a really good DBU offensive lineup. Will, where'd you go on this one?
Dare I
answer?
Well, I do want to say Borberg didn't throw yesterday for DBU, so they still got him to use. I believe he's throwing today, and I'm part of me wants to say UTSA, which means I probably took DBU. So give me Dallas Baptist. I think they bounced back in a really good way today. I was still impressed with the offense yesterday. I'm always going to be impressed with this Dan Hefner offense, one of the best college baseball programs in the country, not just mid-majors. Ranks in the top 10 of wins per year since like 2015 or so, I believe the stat is. And they're just unbelievable. It's an unbelievable coached club. They're going to get a plus arm coming in at some point in Borberg. I think he's throwing today. So give me the Patriots here.
I like it. Or we're gonna go through. What did we got the private chat here from Jared? You did take DBU. You did take DBU. So you're good on that one. You're dead on that one. Really quick here before we end this show, as we're getting up to the game times here. Teams that look good for you, Jamie. Who looked good this weekend for you?
I mean, can I just say UCLA? That's the game I paid most attention to yesterday. Cholowsky looks every bit of 1-1. I would not mind if the White Sox just shipped him off to Glendale in spring training today. That'd be pretty great for TCU. But then the depth of the lineup there with Latu right behind him to protect him. Like TCU had to pitch to him last night because of the situations they found themselves in. And then, I mean, Michael Barnett and a host of bullpen arms coming in on Saturday. They set things up perfectly. Logan Redeman is a guy that TCU saw to open the season last year at San Diego. He struck out 8 in that outing. He struck out 10. So he just apparently has TCU's number overall. They looked every bit of the number one team in the country, and I think that people should take that away from this weekend more than anything else.
I agree with that. That's a perfect commentary there. Will, who looked good this weekend?
UAB. I thought they were really scrappy last week, and for them to, I thought Cincinnati was kind of gaining their footing. I thought they looked really good against Auburn. I thought they were going to walk in and kind of handle business against UAB now that it felt like they were getting things together. But UAB has looked fantastic. Not only are they pesky, but they're winning ball games and in convincing fashion.
Yeah, to me, it was UNC. I mean, honestly, what North Carolina did yesterday with the offense finding their way, Paulson and Nicholson hitting home runs, which is going to get that offense going. I think that if UNC can put up 5 to 6 runs a game, they should be really good this year. They might even win 50 games with how good their pitching staff is. I know it's a tough ACC, but UNC looked the part for me. Teams that didn't look so good for you, Will.
Man, this is a tough one. I think it's ECU. And I know they walked into just a buzzsaw in Jason Decaro yesterday, but I felt similarly walking away from the Xavier series. Like they didn't look super sharp. That offense, for how much they brought back from last year, which is why I was so high on them in the preseason, it just hasn't looked the part quite yet. And so I'm going to go with ECU. I need to see them kind of turn some things around. And, they might not win a game in this series, but if they can put some good performances together against guys like Boaz, then I think you start to say, okay, like what are we actually capable of?
Yeah, and the season does get a little bit easier for them as they get into season versus these 2 opening series that are pretty tough for them. Jamie, team that didn't look so good for you.
I'm going to go with Michigan. Their outfield play, I think, cost them 2 or 3 runs at least against Florida State. And it's hard when you're playing in a ballpark that you're not accustomed to. Things bounce a little bit weird at Globe Life Field, but I was a little disappointed with what I saw from the Wolverines, and that is coming off of a weekend where I thought, wow, their pitching maybe is a lot better than I gave them credit for this offseason. So I think they have the ability to bounce back, but they kind of gave it to Florida State a little bit yesterday.
Yeah, and you got to play better against the top 10 team. You can't give them extra runs. You can't give them extra at bats, and that's kind of the things they did. Give them a few extra bases, and those
Mhm.
turned into runs for Florida State, who wasn't exactly sharp offensively. And if you give them just that little bit, it's going to be an edge that gives a top 10 team a win. I'm going Arizona. Starting off 0-6 is a really tough look for them. They lost the midweek to Omaha. They've now lost 2 in a row to UConn. They lost the entire surprise weekend. Really not a great look for Arizona, especially since they're at home these last 3 games and haven't played well. So I think Arizona's got to have a bounce back. I think they can do it today. Again, Smith Bailey going today makes me feel pretty good about their chances about beating UConn, but they got to find something offensively. My something cool this week, and I just want to share it with you. Coach Cholowsky from Oregon gets his 300th career win. Big shout out to Coach. That's awesome. Going up there, they won 18-1 against Youngstown on Thursday, and then they won 3-0 yesterday. This team looks every bit of a top 25 team, which is why we have them ranked, and they're taking care of business. And the freshmen that they've brought in, and Braden Jaska and Laya out there in the outfield, have been really, really good for them. So what they've added is just tremendous, and the pitching has been really good for Mark out there. So heads up to the Oregon Ducks. Big win for Waz, getting his 300th. Congratulations. Final thoughts on week 2, fellas, as we head into the rest of the weekend here real quick. Jamie, I'll let you go first.
I think it's a big weekend for the Big 12 as a conference to come away with some quality wins when it's been a rocky start through the first, 6 days of the season. Lost a couple games they probably shouldn't have, beat some really good teams in weekend 1. But now it's time to, like, if you're going to be the Big 12 and you've got coaches all across the league saying, like, we need more respect, we're overlooked, yada, 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 at some point you have to win baseball games in order to earn that respect. And this is a great day and a great weekend to start that and get that rolling. So that's what I'm looking for Saturday and Sunday this weekend, is how can the Big 12 across the league maybe step up and win some baseball games?
Absolutely. I love that. Will?
That's a great narrative. I'm all about that. I really am just excited for these like quote unquote mid-major matchups. Like, we have some really good mid-major baseball. I know you mentioned it on Thursday. Texas State and Gonzaga is a really fun series. I think both those teams are under talked about. And then obviously we get USM and Oregon State, and just a plethora of really fun games over the course of the weekend. These early tournaments are so much fun. You get to see teams play that, like, otherwise you would never see play unless it was happened to be in a regional, and even then probably don't. So it's just a fun time of year to see what teams do out of conference.
Absolutely. It's just so much fun. Again, and late night magic, guys. If you guys have not tuned in to watch Hawaii play baseball, it's a blast. And they've taken the first 2 in this one. They are starting off 5-1. Congrats to Hawaii as well. Big shout out to all the teams playing this weekend. College baseball's back, folks. Go out there, go catch some college baseball. It's all over the country. Go out there and go catch some games. I can't wait to get out there and go watch some games here in the next couple of weeks. Thanks to everybody for joining us. We're going to be out live on Monday. Top 25 show is going to drop again. We'll drop our top 25 with Will writing the article there, and then we'll do the bracket, and we'll talk about all the top 25 teams on Monday Night Live. Usually takes a couple hours if you want to join us live. And then Thursday, we're going to do a live show. Can't wait to bring you guys content. For Will Moss and myself, thanks Jamie Plunkett for coming on. Go check out all his stuff at 247 Sports and Horned Frog Blitz. Again, thanks, guys. We're going to get after it again on Monday.
Absolutely. Go Frogs.